of Brazil. The rule is, does the country feel cheap or expensive? And you mentioned, not too many years ago, when wealthy Brazilians came to New York. Ele conta como é que os brasileiros ricos vinham a Nova York e tudo aqui era barato para eles. Compravam apartamentos, iam nas lojas. Eu lembro que tinha lojas que tinham vendedores só para os brasileiros, porque o real estava em paridade com o dólar. E isso acabou. What was that problem in Brazil? Why that happened?
It was far too expensive, right? In terms of the fact that what was happening was that commodity prices had gone up a lot. There was a lot of investment which was coming into Brazil, and also the fact that Brazil, like at that point in time, the interest rates were also relatively high in Brazil. So you had too much capital which came into Brazil, and the exchange rate became expensive. And this was not just true for Brazil. This was true for most countries which were exporting commodities. Russia, South Africa, the currencies had become very expensive. Brazil was the most egregious case of that, because even interest rates were high in Brazil compared to those countries. So therefore, the exchange rate had become very uncompetitive. That was terrible for manufacturing, terrible for exports. And now the exchange rate has corrected, but I still feel that Brazil needs a cheaper exchange rate. So in fact, I would say that the Brazilian real needs to possibly trade at possibly around 4-to-1 to the US dollar, because you need a persistently undervalued exchange rate to help the country once again rebuild its export and manufacturing base. And it has to be done at the same time when you're doing stuff to promote manufacturing and opening the country up to trade. So I would say that these things need to work together in tandem. But yeah, I'd say that the exchange rate in Brazil has corrected, so it's improved on that rule. It feels much cheaper now when I go to Brazil, but I would still say that a 4-to-1 exchange rate is what Brazil requires for a persistently long period of time to help the economy.
Now, is that growing? É sobre dívida. Is that growing faster or slower than the economy?
Very important rule. Of the 10 rules that I've laid out here, I'd say this is my single most important rule. Why? Because we try so hard to try and predict when will a country get into trouble, when will it have a financial crisis. And the best relationship you have is that with debt. That when a country's debt increases too rapidly over a short span of time, that country always gets into some trouble. Either economic growth falls very sharply, or it has an outright financial crisis. In this regard, Brazil had a problem, that Brazil's debt level went up very sharply this decade. Now it's showing some signs of stabilizing, and in fact some signs that the debt burden is also beginning to reduce a bit, but still, that was a real problem. And that is why I'm so worried today about China. That in China's case, the amount of debt which has increased in the last 5 to 7 years is the largest for any emerging market in history. No emerging market in history has taken on as much debt as China has taken on in the last 5 to 7 years. So I would say that...
Unsustainable then?
That is absolutely unsustainable, and that's why the Chinese economy has been consistently slowing down. I say the Chinese economy now is like a ping-pong ball bouncing down the stairs. That this ball is bouncing, and it's possible that the ball may crack at some point. So China is the single biggest worry for the global economy today, because of that kiss of death rule, that whenever a country's debt increases very rapidly over a short span of time, that country always gets into trouble.
A 10ª e última regra é uma pergunta também: como é que o país é visto pelos formadores de opinião globais, Global Opinion Makers? E ele cita a capa da revista Economist, em que o Cristo Redentor aparecia como um foguete, o Brasil estava decolando. What year was that? It's not too long ago, that 2010 maybe. You call it the cover curse.
Yes.
É uma praga você aparecer nas capas dessas revistas, porque cria uma expectativa. Why is it a curse?
Well, I would say that what happens, typically is that by the time the popular magazines begin to play up a country's story, it's quite likely that that country's story is coming to an end. Now, why does this happen? For two reasons. One, that economic growth doesn't last for too long, which is that if economic growth sort of goes up for a while, it begins to slow down after that, partly because the policymakers, the politicians become complacent. They stop doing more to reinvigorate the economy, and instead they sort of start spending much more. And also the fact that when they see these cover stories about them, then they begin to take themselves very seriously, and they stop sort of reforming. So that's why I say this is the curse of the cover story, and in particular with Time magazine, because it's a very popular magazine. By the time they see the fact that a trend is sort of playing itself out, it's likely the trend has matured. It's already gone on. As I argue in the book that even very good economic miracles don't last for more than a decade. So, but by the time people realize this miracle is happening, it may already be a few years. So that's why I call this the curse of the cover story, that if the global media starts hyping a country too much, beware. On the other hand, when the global media ignores a country, that's the best time, because it means that that country is sort of getting its act together, away from the spotlight, and maybe about to take off.
E a última capa da Economist com o Brasil, Cristo aparece segurando uma plaquinha SOS. Remember that? SOS, the Christ holding on the Economist cover.
Yes.
In the last chapter, you list countries that are good, average, and ugly. And you put Brazil in the ugly category.
Well, I'd say that, like if you just look at the 10 rules and you were to rank the countries, then Brazil sort of doesn't rank that well. Having said that...
Not even average?
No, I think that things have improved compared to when I wrote my previous book or that Foreign Affairs article in 2012. So since then it's improved, and the entire idea here is that here are the 10 rules. These 10 rules are dynamic. You can score each country on these rules at any point in time. And in Brazil's case, there has been an improvement for sure in the last few months. But just at the
improvements? We don't see that improvement.
Well, no, I mean, like in terms of these rules are meant to forecast what's going to happen in the future. So yes, on average, Brazil may still...
So it's a prediction for the next what?
Yeah, the next 5 years. In terms of it, that based on the rules today, how does this country look for the next 5 years? And as I said so in this interview, that on some of the rules, Brazil has improved. The politics has improved. The demographics are still positive. I would still say that the currency has corrected and the hype is gone. So there are no more cover stories, talking about Brazil as the super giant of the global economy. So I'd say that on those things it's improved. Unfortunately, the improvement on the other rules is just not enough or too early to say. But if government spending begins to decline and get under control, if Brazil opens itself to more trade with the rest of the world, I'd say that that's telling you then we can move Brazil up those rankings. But for now, there are other countries such as the United States or countries in South Asia such as India, Bangladesh, or in Eastern Europe like Poland, Czech Republic, or in Southeast Asia like Philippines, Indonesia, which rank relatively better. So the whole idea here is to do a relative ranking of countries in the world. On the other hand, some other commodity exporting countries such as Russia, South Africa, don't rank that well just now. So I think the problem here is the fact that most commodity exporting countries are in trouble because this is what's spreading everywhere. But the good news is that the politics across Latin America, including in Brazil, is turning for the better. From Argentina, even in places like Venezuela, it's beginning to turn for the better. And that at least is some optimism on the political rule.
Bom, a gente começou falando que em 2012 o Rocher previa que o Brasil ia mal. E agora ele está prevendo que o Brasil está indo no caminho certo. Então vamos comemorar. Thank you very much.
Thanks.